Hey guys, welcome to 2022, and it's that time of the year where I like to look to the future and try and figure out what's going to happen in the adventure and dual sport motorcycle market, what's coming out, what we might not see, and most of all, what bikes I'm looking forward to the most. So let's get into the good stuff. I think the most obvious one to start with here is the KTM 490 Adventure. This is a bike that KTM said would come out this year, although I do have a lot of skepticism on whether that will actually happen, and I wanted to talk you through that and set everyone's expectations. This is a very popular bike. I won't go through the specs too much, but basically we're hoping it's lightweight. It is a twin cylinder. It's making about 60 horsepower, claimed KTM. So it looks like it's going to make a pretty great little small displacement adventure bike. Hopefully they can keep the weight down because a lot of people are wanting that lightweight, do everything adventure bike. And a lot of people are hanging their hopes on KTM coming to the rescue with this particular bike. If you've been following this, you know that KTM promised that this will come out in 2022. That was before all the massive disruptions that have happened in the last couple of years. And now we've got a different world. And of course, the factory they were intending to build this bike in is not yet ready. In fact, it won't be ready until 2023. So that's left KTM with a couple of options which they haven't divulged which way they're going. Either they wait for that factory to be built, or they could go with moving production to another country. Of course, they've got China and their agreement with CF Moto where they produce bikes, so they could do that. But I don't think they will because the optics of moving to China at the moment probably isn't the greatest move. The other option is moving it down to Malaysia, but of course they're already at capacity. They don't have the staff trained to build these particular bikes, nor do they have the specific components that the factory will need for this specific motorcycle. Given they've got a good excuse with the pandemic, I think they will delay this bike. Of course, I really hope we find out some solid information this year, and I expect that from KTM to hear more nitty-gritty details. Of course, I could be completely wrong and KTM could come out of left field with the bike in the next few months, but I highly doubt it. I think this will be a 2023 bike with lots of new details coming out this year for us to keep us hopeful. One bike I was surprised not to see at last year's International Motorcycle Show was the Honda Transalp 750 or CRF 800L, whatever you want to call it, Honda's middleweight adventure bike. I was expecting to at least see a very early prototype. Now, I was a bit disappointed, like a lot of you, that this didn't come out, but I do think that 2022 we will hear a lot more about this bike. They really need to get this bike right in my eyes, because there's those that want the soft roader. That is something that's great at adventure touring, commuting, can do a little bit of dirt, and basically lots of everything. There's that segment, and then there's the segment that are hoping for a smaller version of the Africa Twin, because it has got bigger and bigger over the years, as all adventure bikes do, and of course it's stacked on the weight. So a lot of people are really hoping for a lightweight Africa Twin in the 750 to 800cc range. Me personally, I would like to see a really dirt capable middleweight. Whichever way it goes, I think it will be a well thought out and well produced product. It'll just be aimed at different people, but I was disappointed not to see that, but I do think we will get more details on this bike this year. One of the biggest pieces of news in 2022, and one of the things that got me the most excited, was the news that Triumph is intending to produce MX and Enduro bikes for 2022 for consumers, as well as enter competitively into races in both those divisions. So for me, that's really exciting news for a couple of reasons. One, it just means that there's fresh new blood into that scene. It's been a very one-sided Team Orange. The other big reason I'm excited for this too is that Triumph have a chance to do something different here. It's been quite some time since Triumph have been in the competitive off-road segment. They have a chance to do things a little bit differently, to think outside the box. They don't have all those expectations weighing down on them, so they could do things a little differently. And I think you can see where I'm going here. They have a chance to make a type of enduro bike that really hasn't happened yet. Basically, my ideal bike is a KTM 350 EXE or an FE 350 with a bigger crankcase to hold more oil. That means longer service intervals. A 6th gear that's a real overdrive so it can still sit on the highway and a cush drive. If it has those things, I think it would be a fantastic motorcycle because you've got enduro-like lightweight as well as enduro spec suspension, but you've got the longevity and durability of a dual sport motor and slightly down in the power, I think. Back that off for longevity, reliability, and smooth the motor out a bit. I think that'd be a real winner because there really isn't a premium dual sport out there. Generally, we buy a cheap dual sport and then we throw expensive suspension on it and then get on with the job. So it'd be great to be able to get something like that straight off the market floor. So that's my little hope from Triumph. A lot of people were speculating, were they going to go with cheap Chinese knockoffs like we've seen a lot of Italian factories doing lately, or will they be going full premium like we've seen in the past from Triumph? I think it's a fairly safe bet from what I've heard that Triumph are going to be making very premium MX and Enduro bikes to go head to head with Husqvarna, KTM and Beta. So exciting stuff and something to look forward to in 2022. The next two bikes kind of go together, and this is the Aprilia Touareg or Touareg 660 and the Ducati Desert X. The Aprilia, because it's fairly lightweight, it looks fairly fresh, and it looks like it's pretty decent competition, at least on the spec sheets, to the Tenere 700. And we haven't seen much movement in the middleweight category since the Tenere 700. And people will point out the KTM 890, but for me personally, once you're getting to that kind of CCs and that size, you're moving towards a heavyweight bike. I haven't seen much movement in the true middleweight category, and it's really exciting to see Aprilia move in, especially with the specs they got. I was quite skeptical. Of course, we've got to wait and see how the dealership network goes because that's where Aprilia tend to fall down, but otherwise this bike looks very promising. And it's the same with the Ducati Desert X. They really could have just made a multi-strata with spoke wheels and been job done, but they've really done something different here. It looks very good. It'll have that fantastic 950cc L-twin motor, and most importantly, you can option out that rear tank, which I was sure they were going to kill after the prototype. So 29 liters of fuel on an adventure bike that you can just go on forever. Of course, I wouldn't take it in hardcore off-road riding. I'm not that masochistic and I certainly can't afford it, but it'd be a perfect number 2 or number 3 adventure bike. Take down to the cafe, do long camping trips on and take on dirt roads and just do some big road touring miles on it. I will point out though, I don't think the Ducati really is a middleweight. It definitely is a big adventure bike. They're two of the most interesting adventure bikes I'm looking forward to in 2022. Back to Triumph here, and of course we've got another entry into the middleweight category in the Triumph Tiger 660, the adventure model, not the Sport Tourer that was released at the end of last year. Why do I think this is coming out this year? Well, Triumph had a meeting, and in that meeting images were leaked of the 3 model system based off the triple motor that you've seen now in the Trident and in the Tiger Sport. And of course the third bike in those pictures was a Tiger adventure bike. I don't think it's a stretch of the imagination that this year we will see a 660 triple adventure bike for proper off-road use from Triumph, and just something nice and different. We haven't really seen a really small triple middleweight adventure bike. I really hope that the market continues to produce really small, great little dual sports. Kawasaki and Honda have really done us a solid coming out with the KLX 300 and the CRF 300L, sticking to that lightweight, durable, everyman dual sport, which is really my wheelhouse and what I love. And the bike has been fantastic, and I'm looking forward to the journey in 2022. And the final thing I wanted to ask you before going is, I would really like to know what you would like to see out of this channel for 2022. Is there a video that you would like to see from me, or a type of video that I'm not making that you would love to see? Or is there a type of video that I'm doing that you hate, that you just don't want to see moving forward? I'd love to know, and I'm looking forward to another fantastic year of Chronicles of Solid. Don't forget to stay shiny side up, and I'll see you in the next video. Catch you later, guys.